Alright kids, it's brake upgrade time. This time round I'm going to be installing my new Hawk HP Plus front brake pads and a set of rotors to match. And next time round I'm going to show you guys the brake bleeding procedure for the Mazda2 with my new high temp fluid. For this round of brake upgrades I've decided to only do pads, fluid, and rotors as a prioritization of my funds. I could have done a set of stainless steel brake lines for the car, but at the cost of those lines, that's most of another event, and at this point, the lines are more of a want than a necessity for braking performance on track, and seat time is at a premium, so I'm going to take the seat time over another mod. With that out of the way, let's get started. With the car securely in the air and the wheels off, you're going to want to find your 17mm caliper bracket bolts. There's one up here, one on the bottom. They're the big ones in the back. These ones here, they're for the sliders. You don't want to worry about that, because we're just going to remove the entire assembly, which will enable us to remove the rotor. That was pretty easy. You don't want your caliper to be hanging by the brake line, though, so I've got it supported with the jack until I can return to it and fit the new pads. But now, let's get this old rotor off. The old rotor might prove to be difficult and be seized to the hub. But not to worry, that's an easy fix. A few taps to the back of it, right here, spin it around, give it a few taps, that'll work it off until it's loose and you can remove it. I would prefer a rubber mallet, but a nice hammer and a cloth usually works for me. Out with the old, in with the new. I just use Centric C-Tech standard rotors. There's the part number there. They make nicer Centric premium ones with black painted hats so they don't get all rusty like that, but as you can imagine, those are more expensive, and for track brakes, I'm not too concerned. Now the real fun can begin. To better access the caliper, I just undid this little bracket for the brake line. That's a 12mm bolt right there. Not a big deal, it just allows you to bring it out a little bit more. So starting with the pads, you're just going to have to be mindful there are all these little metal spring retainer clips thing that tension the pad, hold it in there and everything, so you're going to have to pay attention to those when you get the new pads in. So let's get started and pop the first one out. Nice and easy. Now there's this little backing plate on here. You're going to want to pop that off and transfer it to the new pads. There we are. Old pads on the left, new pads with the transferred backing plates on the right. And here's a good look at those little backing springs right here. The brake pad squeezes in there like that. Not inside that little spring. You've got to pull it back like that and the pad is able to slide in there. Next, though, we've got to compress our caliper to make room for the new pads to fit over the new rotor. The way to achieve that is to stick the standard pad in backwards so that the backing side is facing out. Then you want to get a C-clamp, clamp it all together, and then just close it up till that piston is compressed back into the caliper. And you want that pad in place. You don't want to just clamp the bare caliper piston because you'll damage it. With that out of the way, we can now fit the new pads. But before you install them, what you're going to want to do is grab your provided grease that comes with your pads. Or if you have a preferred brake-specific grease that you like to use that, whichever. This comes along and there are instructions here. It says to add it to all the surfaces where the pad's going to be meeting the caliper, and you also want to check the slides. Maybe add it to the slides and everything. Just follow the instructions on the pack and you should be fine. And there we are. New pads are in, nice and greased up. Try not to get any on the friction surface. I got a couple little spots. I'm sure it'll be fine. You just don't want to get any of it on the rotor or the friction surface of the pad. But that should be a-okay. And there we are. The side's all back together, buttoned up nice. It's really easy to do. It's just remove and replace. On and off, not a big deal at all. Now, for the other side, all you gotta do is rinse and repeat. Boom! Side 2 is done. It took a little bit longer than I expected because I got a cut on my finger. So yeah, try not to do that when you're doing it yourself. Cut your finger and almost pass out. The funny thing is, a friend of mine and I were just having a conversation about that last night, so I know he's going to be laughing when he watches this. So, alright, now I can put the wheels back on and bed these babies in. When installing new brake components such as pads and rotors, it's imperative that you bed them in so that they'll function properly. The method I'm going to be using is provided by TireRack.com, specifically regarding Hawk brake pads. Their method is 6 to 10 moderate pressure stops down from 35 miles per hour, never letting the car come to a complete stop, and then 2 to 3 more hard stops from 45 miles per hour, also never letting the car come to a complete stop. After that, park the car without engaging the handbrake. I'm not sure if it matters because I didn't do new rear brakes, but again, they could be hot. You don't want to lock them together, because they could get stuck. Anyway, I'm not going to record that because the process explains itself. It's just throttle, brake, So I'm going to go take care of that and get back to you guys after the bed-in process is complete. Bed-in is done. No smoke to speak of, but there's a little bit of color from the heat. They certainly smell like new brakes, and they stop great. So there you have it. That's how you do new front brakes on a Mazda 2. Anyone could probably complete this project in maybe a couple of hours max. I was making a video about it, you won't be, so it should take you a lot less time than it did for me. So, if you're a person, a fellow 2 owner, looking to do your own brakes, I hope this video has helped you. As far as the parts I've just installed, I'm really excited to put them to good use on track at Palm Beach International Raceway in a couple of weeks with the SCCA. I'm just getting really stoked about it. It's coming soon, and it's been a while since I've done any performance driving, so I'm starting to get really excited. As I said earlier in the video, look for a brake bleeding procedure video to come soon, probably within the week, because I still need to put some high temp fluid in this car so that the brakes don't boil on track, so look for that soon. Anyway, it's really hot here in Florida. I'm sweating dirty. I need a shower, so thank you all so much for watching and subscribing. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So there you have it, guy. There you have it, guy. I'm not your buddy, guy.